Okay guys, welcome to another video. In today's video I wanted to just quickly talk about prepping your vehicle for winter or cold weather. Now, depending on where you live in the country, this may or may not apply to you, but what you may want to think about is even if you live in Texas, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, southern states can still get hit with some pretty cold weather. Now, I grew up northern Minnesota, so like long winters, -20, -30. So there was other precautions we also made up there, block heaters and stuff like that, good tires and all that. Right now, we live in a centrally located state, which generally doesn't have super extreme winters, but there's a couple cold snaps. And as you can see, the reason I'm making this video is it's currently snowing. What does my truck say? 5 degrees. Tonight it's supposed to get to like negative 5, I believe, and then the next couple days it's supposed to be 0 or a little bit under. And a lot of people, in the south, they kind of freak out about cold weather and snow. Coming from the north, I'm a little more acclimated to it, so it's an inconvenience for me, but it's not like, panic. Really quickly, I just wanted to go through how I kind of prep my vehicle. I try and keep it prepped all year long, but in the winter I take some extra precautions. So the first thing, the reason I'm in the driver's seat, it is started right now, but I wanted to show you this dial here. The number one thing, keep your fuel tank as full as possible for a handful of reasons. I can't explain the exact science, something to do with water and condensation and the fuel lines and blah blah blah, but the main reason is if you're really low on fuel, that extra airspace in the fuel tank, I think, can condensate water, blah, blah, blah. It decreases the odds of your vehicle starting. The other thing is it's just a good thing all year long to keep your vehicle full, but especially in the winter, I don't let it go below about half tank. The other thing, especially for truck owners and SUV owners with back wheel drive or rear wheel drive, the fuel tank is located towards the back. On my truck, it's located slightly forward of the rear tires. The reason I bring that up is this truck has a 32-gallon tank, so you can run the math, but the weight per gallon times 32 gallons, that's quite a bit of weight. And the key to traction on ice and in the winter is weight over your drive wheels. But it's still important if you have a car or a front wheel drive vehicle to keep your fuel tank full. But the first thing, people always talk about adding weight, sandbags and all that stuff. The first thing I would recommend, keep your fuel tank full. Like I said, that's anywhere between 20 and 30 gallons times, I think gas is about 7 pounds per gallon. So you can run the math there, but that's weight. So if you have an empty fuel tank, it's kind of silly to throw 300 pounds of sandbags in the bed of your truck. Just fill your tank up. The other thing, you can see the low tire pressure. Don't freak out. If you have good tires, I can toggle through here, but like I said, 31, 38, 32, 33, don't always rely on this. Don't freak out. People think if your tires are 1 or 2 psi low, your tires are going to blow up. In the summer, I generally keep them at 40 to mid 40s. When it gets colder, air loses pressure, so your tires are going to go low. Now the problem, if you live in the north where it stays winter or stays cold for months on end, yeah, fill them back up to 40. But the problem that sometimes can happen in the south is it gets really cold. People will see 30, whatever. They'll fill up to 40 while it's really cold to get their light to turn off. And then, a couple days later, it goes back up to 60, 70 degrees. Now your tires are overinflated. So again, some people, if I'm driving like a road trip or long distance, yeah, I want them close to 40, but I don't personally freak out if they're a little bit low. I won't go fully into tires till I'm outside of the vehicle, but tire pressure, and then the rest of your fluids. I'm not going to open the hood, but antifreeze, make sure it's good. Window wash, you'll see in the back of my truck, I'll show you in a second, I have a jug of window wash, but window wash is responsible for a lot of accidents, believe it or not, because of limited visibility. Especially after they treat the roads, you have all that liquid, it's salt, sand mixed with liquid that tires in front of you are kicking up, getting on your windshield. Well, if you don't have window wash, then you have limited visibility, which is unsafe and really irresponsible to drive. Sorry about that, I just flipped the defroster on. Coupled with windshield wipers, I personally recommend, I think it's smart to just have a spare set of window wipers in your vehicle, because they're going to wear out eventually. Murphy's Law, they're going to wear out in the worst rainstorm, thunderstorm, or ice or snowstorm. So you can run into a gas station bay that's covered, that's dry. You can fill up your tank, and while it's filling up, you can just swap out and put your new blades on. But if you don't have a second set, just like, they're not all that expensive, so maybe every fall or something like that, replace them. Rain's one thing, but snow, ice, and having to use your windshield wash, if you have really poor wipers, it's going to make your windshield worse. Along with that, your water pump and your antifreeze, I think I already talked about that, your coolant, all your fluids. I used to have a car, and also just use a little bit of common sense. When I was young and dumb, one of my first vehicles, I think I was like 16 or 17, I would at night go to the gym, and I'd get out of the gym, and my body's warm, sweaty, blah blah blah, turn my car on, put the defroster on, wait a couple minutes, and I'd have to like open my window, and my windshield wasn't clearing, and then I'd have to leave my car started for a super long time to just clear my windshield wiper. Well, what happened is the water pump was slowly going out, and the water pump is what circulates your coolant and helps with your heating, your HVAC system. So use a little bit common sense. If it seems like your vehicle's not, the defroster's not working, get it fixed, or YouTube it and fix it yourself. So along with this, the reason I'm partially filming it is I just cleaned it, and you're looking at the dirty floor mats. I sometimes vacuum my vehicle. This is a truck I use daily. So yeah, there was, bottles and garbage and receipts and fast food wrappers and stuff on the floor. So I cleaned it quick. But then I figured before it gets dirty again, might as well film a video. So over here, pair of gloves. I recommend keeping a pair of gloves, maybe not behind the seat. I recommend kind of up here. The reason why is, one, they're quick to get to. Two, when your vehicle's warming up, like my vehicle's already warming up inside, if you need to hop out and help someone get unstuck or whatever, the worst thing, or one of the most annoying things to me, is putting on a cold pair of gloves. So I keep them quick, easy to get to. Next to that is a flashlight. I really like these Streamlight Dually flashlights because they're AA. They're fairly bright. They're a utility light. They come out the front and come out the bottom. You can like set it on the ground if you need to change a tire, or if you need to put snow chains on or get under a vehicle to shovel it out. But a good flashlight, I like that one because it's yellow in case you drop it. Again, this isn't there's some videos out there who they're showing you 1,000 different things that keep in your vehicle. I don't really do that. I just keep what kind of prior lived experience, what I've had to use in the past. So I don't store just a lot of useless garbage, but that's like the vehicle book. Some napkins are always smart to have. This is like a wall cube. So some random stuff. I keep, if I can open it, I keep my vehicle insurance info and registration and all that in the center console. The reason why is if you do get pulled over, law enforcement are trained to look for this. If they see you reaching over to your glove box, it's kind of a red flag. But if they're sitting there, license and registration please, while keeping your, eyes forward and all that stuff, you can open this and grab it. That's the only reason I do it. And frankly, it's kind of like, what else would you put in here that you actually need quick access to? But license, or not license, but registration, title, or not title, but you get the thing. Sometimes I'll throw like fuel receipts if I need to save them for some reason. But again, try not to fill this with garbage, because then all your important stuff will get buried. So again, there's just a couple. And then glove box, another flashlight. This isn't supposed to be in here, but it ended up in here. Field book, pack of gum, utility knife, automatic center punch. Why do you have this? Because it's in here. Because it's pretty useful. You push down and yeah. Carabiner. Again, you know, why do you have this? Because carabiners are useful for a lot of things. This is a climbing rated locking carabiner of large size. You can fly with these. You can hook it to your carry-on bag, which is pretty good, which is pretty cool. But I keep one in my vehicle because it makes sense. Yeah. And then a USB-C cable underneath and some change. This is like a divider I got off Amazon for like $10. It's plastic. It works. I'm sure they make them for other vehicles. And then there's some like USB cigarette lighter, USB chargers. So you can like have some electronics. I would probably put like one of those Anchor battery packs in here, plugged in, always charging. The downside, 2 batteries, like this has lithium batteries and that Streamlight flashlight has lithium batteries. The downside to having electronics in here is your vehicle overnight, like I said, tonight's going to get down to like -10. So make sure the electronics can handle it. And I recommend lithium batteries. Alkaline batteries, when they're getting cold, hot, cold, hot, that's when they can kind of like oxidize a little bit. And then back here, this isn't a get home bag. This just has a jacket, hand warmer, spare pair of gloves, some hand warmers. So kind of a get home bag. This isn't designed to live off the land. This is designed to, like, if I went off the road or something like that and I needed to bundle up. Right now, I'm wearing my bibs, but when my bibs aren't on, I try and remember to stick them in the bag. Sometimes it's a struggle, so sometimes I'll roll them up and just stick them right next to. And then back behind there, I have some spare jackets. And that's about it. In here, again, blue collar life. I have another pair of like work gloves. I don't recommend wearing these in the winter because this rubber amplifies how quickly your hands get cold. Yeah, I don't know why, but I wear these in the summer for like block work. I like thin gloves like this. They're not the warmest, but they're easy to drive with. And then what's that? Just some multivitamin. And then that's just a, you know, if you need to smack some like ice off your tires or that type of thing. It has a pocket, so I don't know why it's in there, but it works. One thing I wanted to talk about is this Diamondback cover I've done a video on. One thing that I noticed, this is the first time since I've gotten it that it's gotten cold, is the locks did not freeze up, which is good because they're facing out of the wind. They're facing back, which is smart. But, and I've already opened this before the video, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to make this video. On the front, I noticed I could lift this side. That side was frozen shut. And you can see this ice formation. A couple days ago, we had some weird weather. It was hailing and raining, and then that turned to freezing rain and then to snow. And I guess some of that moisture drained off and froze. Now, I'm sure there's ways you can alleviate that, but it was kind of concerning. Now back here, over there, I have window wash. Again, really important. It doesn't cost that much at the gas station. So the next time you get gas, get 1 or 2 jugs, top your vehicle off, and whatever you have left, keep in your vehicle. I have a camp chair back there. Again, all this isn't winter specific. I have a pair of chainsaw chaps, a cutting helmet. Right here I have a fire extinguisher. This is an old pair of boots. If you're going to save boots, like, they're going to take up the same amount of space whether you have them inside or outside. So a spare pair of boots. I have 2 pair of socks stuffed in one. and then a thick beanie stuffed in the other, and I think a pair of gloves below that. So again, I wear durable boots daily, insulated in the winter, but having a spare set in case you're wearing like dress clothes or something like that. A sleeping bag. I didn't show it in the vehicle, but right back there's a Kafara Whoopee, which is a blanket, which I find better to use if you're in a vehicle, because like a vehicle like this, you can't really lay down fully. A sleeping bag is good, but I like the blanket more. This is an IFAC back here, and this is from Hill People Gear. This is a Molly seat back panel. I'm not using it to its full potential. But a sleeping bag, again, this isn't a super cold rated one, but it's compact, and this mixed with a Kafara Whoopee, I've slept fairly cold. Some muck boots, I forgot I had those back there. So these I don't actually recommend for super cold temperature, but for muddy weather, they're pretty nice. Muck boots, I had them, and I just keep them in the vehicle. So muck boots, chainsaw helmet. Back here, what I did is I got a used crossbed toolbox off Marketplace. It was like less than $100. Diamondback makes a product similar to this, but you can only have it up front. I wanted it back here, so I have this, and I can still stuff stuff underneath. But up here, I have a nylon rope, I have triangles, I have a tie-down strap. That black bag right there is an air compressor. Right there is a 10 by 10 multicam tarp, reflective on one side, nylon. That I wouldn't take backpacking. It's pretty heavy. It's like 3 to 4 pounds, but one is I can throw it on the ground if I need to change a tire or something like that, like a ground cloth, and I can also use it in conjunction with my truck to make a little impromptu shelter if I need to. This is bungee cords and some ratchet straps, a ratchet strap, a tow rope, and then a chain underneath. Don't mind that. So a 30-foot kinetic energy tow rope. This is elastic, the chain is not. Don't use a chain to snatch a vehicle, but for some of the stuff I do, it's useful to have a chain. So I have a chain, I have some nylon rope. Again, you don't need to carry all this, it's just things that I tend to use. And that's about it in there. And then moving to the back, so the same thing happened back here. You can see the ice buildup. So I tried to open this first, and then my tailgate, and it was frozen shut, so that was kind of like annoying. So I had to bang on it a little bit, and it jostled the ice around and allowed me to open it. Back here I have logs. Why do I have logs? Weight over the back axle. I don't always have these in here. I've used sandbags in the past. I've used bags of concrete in the past. Logs, yeah. One thing, and then over here I have a flat shovel. I recommend, you can keep a snow shovel in here, but I recommend a flat shovel first. You can scrape ice. Generally, if you're stuck, you're on ice. Flat shovels aren't good for digging hard ground, but generally if you're stuck, it's going to be soft ground. That's why you got stuck. And flat shovels I prefer for digging soft material, mud, sand, snow. This can also scrape ice. This one specifically is roughly the width of my tires, so if you're digging out behind your tires or in front, if you have a pointed shovel, you can gash your tires. With a flat shovel, it's a little bit safer. You can dig through deep snow a lot easier with this than a snow shovel. It just doesn't hold as much. Spray it down with some oil or some WD-40 so it doesn't rust. And you can't see the back of it, but I cut it down to 4 feet. It's a full length handle. You do want a long shovel, but at the same time, if it's too long, it's kind of cumbersome to get under a vehicle. So I found 4 feet, it just stores easier. And right there I have one of those rubber quick fist clamps. This right here is a scrap piece of carpet padding that we had left over from a project. The reason it's back here isn't really to protect the truck bed. But what I found is having it in this back third compartment is it makes it so like logs or anything doesn't slide back and forth. I have the padding facing down, so it is padded. It's not super durable, but it was cheap. So that's why I have this back here. You can see I have a bag of concrete, 60 or 80 pound bag of concrete. That was left over from a project. I'm like, hey, I'm going to leave it. If, some people recommend cat litter, some people recommend sand, but I was thinking, and I'm like, well, it's concrete. It's useful to have. It's heavy, it's dense, but if needed, if I needed traction, that is sand and gravel. Yes, concrete mixed in, but I was like, hell, I could use that for traction. So I left that in there. So that's 60 pounds. This is probably maybe 300 pounds of weight towards the tailgate. And again, this isn't always in here, just like if we're going to get, bad weather. And then this side is a reflective vest. Back there is an ice scraper, a dog leash, and a jacket and a blanket. And that's about it. So a couple last tips. I came back in because it was pretty cold, and the snow as it hits you is kind of melting. So I'm trying to warm my hands up a little bit. A couple things that people don't talk about, just some closing remarks. Winter especially, try and keep a clean vehicle. The reason I say that is if you have drink cups or if you have water bottles, if you have open liquid containers, like fountain drink containers, what can happen is that can actually cause the inside of your vehicle to frost up. I know it sounds made up, but it does kind of make sense. I won't go into the complete science, but if you have tons of things, if you have sweaty clothes, if you have rain jackets that you leave in here wet, and then it gets really cold, and then it's baking in the sun, you have a lot of humidity in the cab of your vehicle. And then at night, if it freezes, all that humidity, that condensation is going to collect on the inside of your windshield. It's not the end of the world. It just is kind of inconvenient. So as much as possible, try and remove wet clothing. Or if you go to the gym, if you have sweaty, like a gym bag, keep that in mind. Or if you have open drink containers. The other thing I didn't go over is tires. No matter what vehicle you have, tires is like the biggest thing to make it safer to drive. All-terrain tires, or at least snow-rated tires, good tires, even all-season tires I don't recommend, but if you have all-season tires, make sure they have a decent amount of tread on them. Keep them rotated, and don't think you save money by driving them till they're bald. You don't save money, you just are delaying a purchase, right? So if you're kind of saving money, but you're really not. The peace of mind you get when you get your new set of tires will pay you back a lot more than putting off getting new tires for a couple months for the sake of saving money and always wondering when your tire is going to blow up. Also, it's just irresponsible to other drivers on the road, because a tire blowout can leave you stranded, yes, but it could possibly cause you to hit another vehicle or another vehicle to hit you. So it's just kind of irresponsible. Along with that, a battery. This fall, I made this mistake. I kept putting off getting a new battery, and I knew, I think I got like 6 or 7 years out of it. I think it was the original factory battery, but this fall, I just bit the bullet. I'm like, I'll just get a new one before my truck just doesn't start because of a dead battery. So I got a new battery. That's another thing. People will avoid getting a battery because they think it's saving them money. It kind of is, but it kind of isn't. So get a new battery. Get a new battery. It's kind of silly, in my opinion, to avoid purchasing things that inevitably you will have to purchase. Again, I understand you want to get the most money out of it, but you also want a reliable vehicle. You don't want a vehicle that you always have to worry about, will it start, are my tires good, and that type of thing. So your fluids, your antifreeze, oil, and stuff like that. I'm not going to be the type of person, check it before every time you drive. No one does that. And yeah, but just, use some common sense. Do your due diligence, check your oil, make sure your tires are inflated and wearing proper. I don't really concern myself that much with the exact PSI. I'm more concerned about the wear pattern, if they're wearing funny or if there's like flat spots on the tires. To me, that's a lot bigger concern than if it's exactly to a certain PSI, because a change in temperature is going to change that PSI. So I don't concern myself that much. If they look flat, they're probably low. And then also just don't have them insanely high. Now, I have load E tires, which you can fill up to 80 psi to get your full load rating. But what's going to happen is if you're unloaded, the center is going to wear out because it's going to be convex, right? So the center is going to wear out, and what happens is that gives you less traction because now only the center is really biting into the ground. If you lower it, you'll get more even wear, which also gives your tires its full potential. I think that's about it. Like I said, this isn't a truck EDC. I don't have 1,000 or 1,000,000 different things. I just have stuff that makes sense, and I wanted to pass on a couple tips that I kind of learned from just living in cold weather a long time. I feel like and then I also wanted to cover the Diamondback truck cover. I still like the Diamondback truck cover. Keep in mind that, if you live in a snowy or icy environment, you might have that issue. But if you have a camper shell, you might have that same issue. You might not be able to open it. And then sometimes even doors and your tailgate sometimes are iced over and it's hard to open. One thing I didn't cover is the lock de-icer. Some people carry it, other people don't. The reason I don't is it's aerosol. I don't, aerosol cans, getting really hot, getting really cold, some people do, some people don't. When you need it, you really need it, but sometimes you have a can and you're planning on relying on it. If you do keep it in, test it. Just make sure it still works. Or just buy it, I don't know, every year, but don't buy a can and just keep it in your vehicle for 10 years and expect it to work when you need it. I've never used lock de-icer personally. I'll consider myself lucky, knock on wood. Chemical hand warmers are good to have. I have some in that backpack. If you do need to hunker in your vehicle, you can stick some of those in a sleeping bag, to keep your toesies warm. And then family size. If you have a large family, you're going to have a different vehicle setup, but have clothing for each person in your family. If someone's small, they can wear big clothes, like adult clothes or whatever, but have a sleeping bag, have a blanket, for them. A snow brush, I didn't cover, it's in the back, I don't want to hop back out, but a snow brush is really important, cleaning your windshield off, and an ice scraper. Get one of those long extendable snow brooms, because then that way you can reach to the center of your hood. If you're a short person, you can get all your windshield if you're a short person. And those long extendable ones, you can clean off the top of your vehicle. Just common courtesy and the law in some states, if your vehicle's covered in snow, at least, I understand if you can't get it all, but at least the hood, because if you don't clean the hood off because you're lazy, right when you start driving, all that snow is going to come onto your windshield, right? So clean your hood off. Sometimes once you start your vehicle, the vehicle bay will actually melt off some of that snow. But what I actually do is I try and brush it off before starting my vehicle. Otherwise, that bottom layer will kind of ice over, and then you'll have some ice buildup on your hood. And then the top of your vehicle, especially if you have a low vehicle that's easy to reach, clean off the top of your vehicle. It's just common courtesy to other drivers behind you. But again, that's about it. I don't want to ramble on too long. If you like my video, go back to my homepage, watch some of my current videos. If you like what you see, feel free to subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next video.